Right off the bat, the 49ers placed 4 players on injured reserve. Now, again, I want to constantly go back and forth and clarify the difference in these things. Injured reserve before the 53-man cut down means you cannot play one snap for the 49ers this year, regardless. Done. Your season with the Niners is over. Now, a lot of times with vets or people that, long term, whatever, maybe they don't have a significant injury, you come to an injury settlement, and then those players can go play for any of the other 31 teams, but not you. So these players completely done with the Niners no matter what. Zane Gonzalez, the Niners tried to trade for him. He got hurt, gone. He's done. Taylor Hawkins broke his hand. I think the Niners wanted to keep him on the practice squad. This basically means he'll be with the Niners next year. So he's there. AJ Parker flashed some promise, but didn't really seem to be in the plans to make the roster. And probably the biggest move so far today, Cameron Latu, third round pick. We were very, very critical of this pick. I had a 6th-round grade on him. Definitely did not have a good preseason, did not have a good camp. He had a meniscus injury, and he was going to get his second opinion on if he needed surgery or not or whatever else. Didn't matter. Kyle Shanahan was going to do this to somebody. He does it to every year. Cameron Latu is on IR. His rookie season is over. It's done. Now, the good news for him, it's probably best for his long-term career because he wasn't ready. That dude was not ready. Not in special teams, not in blocking, not in receiving. The only thing that he was ready for was running routes. But once the ball was thrown to him, it was bad. Once he caught it, it was bad. So Cameron Latu gets put on, hiatus, and that's it. We're not going to hear from him for an entire year. Was it a good pick? We'll see. Maybe he'll pan out in years 2, 3, but we always knew he was a project. When the Niners drafted him, they kept saying his willingness to be this. We think what he can become. We're not drafting for where he is. We're going to go with what he can become. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of negatives there. So those are the guys that are on IR. They cannot play anymore. So Zane Gonzalez, Taylor Hawkins, Cameron Latu, AJ Parker. Season's done. DUN with the Niners. It's over. Danson right here. Latu stashed on the IR is best case scenario. Honestly, I agree as well. I think even if he didn't get hurt, they were going to tell him he was hurt. And, with these second opinion and all that stuff, that's where that is. Want to say thank you to all the hashtag CCs. What's up, Big Papa? The 49ers don't release, oh, this is our 53-man roster. Instead, you have to put together all these puzzle pieces, who's released, who's waived, who's all these things, so that you can figure out all these different whatever. So I am constantly tracking everything. All right. Other things that we know 100%. Let's stick with those because I think that's important for now. And again, just tag me in the chat, put John on there. I'd like to get to these comments, but just updating real time. Austin Bryant and Kerry Hyder Jr. were both released. Now, here's what's important because released and waived. Released and waived is very important because it changes the process in which they come back. If a player has 4 or more seasons in the NFL, they're released. They don't go to waivers. They are now free agents. They get to negotiate a contract with whatever team that they want to. 4 or less, and you're waived, you don't have a say-so on where you go. Whatever team claims you based on the draft order 1 through 32, the 49ers are 30th, you have to go to that team. You don't have any negotiating power whatsoever in before you finish 4 years. These players are all vets with 4 or more years that have been released. These are free agents. So they get to choose the team if a team offers them a deal. And the 2 most important ones, I think, are Kerry Hyder and Austin Bryant, both defensive ends. We did this last year with Kerry Hyder, I believe, because guess what? He picks where he goes. He was a captain in game 3 of the preseason. Kerry Hyder was. They're coming back. This was already put out by Barrows. It said, that both of these players will be brought back on Wednesday, literally just 1 day, which tells us 2 things. 1, 2 players are going on IR after the 53. Ray McLeod. Who else? Danny Gray? Maybe. Jake Moody? Maybe. Who knows? We don't know. This is conjecture, but we know that Kerry Hyder and Austin Bryant, the defensive ends, are coming back, or at least that's the plan. Perhaps another team offers him a deal. Kerry Hyder Jr. is not going anywhere. That dude's Chris Kusarek all over him. So yeah, he's not going anywhere. That's what's up. So other players that were released, Chris Conley. I hate to hear that, man. That dude earned this freaking roster spot, period. That's all there is to it. Troy Fumagalli, in my opinion, should have been the second tight end. Kittle should have been Fumagalli. Then it should have been Braden Willis. So I disagree with that move as well. I completely disagree with these two moves. Brian Hill, yeah, that made sense. T.Y. McGill, I thought he had a terrible camp. Jeremy McNichols flashed, but you don't need that many running backs. Anthony Miller came in last minute, and Willie Snead the fourth. So those are your veterans who have been released. Now, again, if the Niners want to bring them back, just like we did Willie Snead for last year, he didn't make the 53, but that dude was starting week 1 in special teams. So just because these guys are cut, they have say so. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch would have conversations. Hey, Willie Snead, we want you back, but we've got to preserve these numbers. We're going to let you go, but we want you back and we're going to elevate you because you're such a stud special teamer. We can trust you, so on and so forth. I'm just using Willie Snead as an example. But Chris Conley sure as hell should be back on this roster. Hoping he doesn't get an offer somewhere else. He is my favorite thing about Chris Conley is he blocks like a badass. He was great through training camp with all 3 quarterbacks. Had no issues. No issues. Did bang up his shoulder, but he's day to day. I don't think that's really an issue.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.